The Money Show with Bruce Whitfield.
The former SAFA Chief Executive Leslie Sedibe has been appointed Chief Executive of Proudly South African, an organisation that, to my mind anyway, has fallen far short of its name in recent years. He may have a different opinion on that. Leslie Sedibe, it's good to see you this evening. You're an Apple fan.
A huge Apple fan, and I'm really saddened by the untimely departure of Steve Jobs. I think he had made a major contribution in terms of how consumers interact with some of this gadget, especially for those of us who are BBT.
BBT?
Born before technology.
Can I put that on my business card, please? I want it. But that's the point. I won't ask you how many Apple devices you do have, but you have multiple devices you've had multiple copies of every device Apple's ever made. Almost.
Yeah, I have every single generation of the iPhone. I've got about 4 of them. I have 2 iPads, MacBook. The list is endless. I love the product.
Well, good. Now you've got no excuse because you're technologically equipped to deal with taking over, of course, at Proudly South Africa. Let's just talk a little bit about SAFA. You left there under very stressful circumstances in February this year. Lots of allegations of infighting and all sorts of stuff. Are you over that? Have you managed to put it behind you?
You know, I came across a quote by Karl Marx, and it reads as follows: "There comes a time in your life when you have to let go of all pointless drama and the people who create it, and surround yourself with people who make you laugh so hard that you forget the bad and focus solely on the good."
Is that Karl Marx? I didn't know he was a cheerful guy.
Life is too short to be anything but happy.
Okay, so you go into Proudly South African. Nice connection, nice link, which is an organisation which, to my mind, is far from happy.
Look, I mean, the challenges that are faced by Proudly South Africa has a lot to do with people's understanding of its role, which is really more around an advocacy role, but then also a marketing role in terms of encouraging South Africans to get behind South African brands. And for you to be able to drive that marketing and to push and to educate consumers to understand the importance of purchasing or procuring items or goods or services that come from South Africa, it requires a lot of money. Marketing costs in recent times have gone up. It's not very easy, especially if you do not have a media partner to get your messages across. And I think one of the bigger challenges that the campaign has faced is the funding model, as you know.
It was quite controversial at times because people were being excluded from Proudly South African because they couldn't afford the subs. And you had Proudly South African companies that were complaining, if I remember correctly, 5-6 years ago, that they were being let down by Proudly South African. They were Proudly South African but couldn't afford to be seen to be Proudly South African.
Well, also because people started to ask the question, what's the value proposition? And that's what we need to do. Part of my responsibility is to reposition the brand, deal with the liquidity issues, and really make sure that we put back Proudly South African on the map. And I think there are also certain core values, and that's why over time you had a product such as Lead SA, which bridges that gap that I think was created, that vacuum that was created in the market.
But Lead SA has got a completely different premise, though. I mean, Proudly South African is more commercial, and really. Lead SA is more social, I would argue.
I would agree with that. I don't think the two are mutually exclusive. You see, Proudly South Africa is about patriotism.
Yeah.
It's about national pride. And those two values, you cannot put a rand value to them. Patriotism, you can't put a price to it. And this is what Lead SA really is about.
No, absolutely.
And I'm saying that part of what Proudly South Africa ought to have played, the emphasis shifted more on the commercial aspects and really neglected some of the key issues around national pride and patriotism.
So what is the focus under Leslie Sedibe going to be?
The focus is going to be patriotism, national pride, and encouraging South Africans to get behind the Buy Local campaign.
But also Buy Local means that, one, it's got to be affordable, two, it's got to be of sufficient quality to encourage me to do so. And that's a challenge in South Africa where we are not a great competitive economy.
Yeah, you see, the bigger challenge, Bruce, is that oftentimes when people think cheap, and we all know the infamous Chinese imports, and some of these come in with predatory pricing structures. What is key for us is the question of job creation, that each time you purchase a product, a goods or service locally made, you contribute towards the employment or job creation in the country. And I think we also, as part of this debate, we need to also go beyond the question of job creation and focus on enterprise development. And this is something that we will obviously be focusing on with our engagement with DTI. We really need to skill our people, and we need to place a strong emphasis on enterprise development, because once you do that, it will translate into jobs.
You were at the breakfast in the front row on Monday morning where I was interviewing the president, and I put to him Clem Santa's point. I said, why don't we change the language of the jobs discussion in South Africa from an issue about jobs to enterprise development? Can't we just make that subtle switch and say, let's create 1 million enterprises, the jobs will come along with that as well?
I totally agree with that. And I think, we should, because sometimes, you have campaigns that says create X number of jobs, and some of those are difficult to measure, especially if it's not up to you to create those jobs. But really, there has to be an emphasis on enterprise development. Of course, what is at the heart of enterprise development is the need for us to deal with the unemployment situation in the country. Now, people estimate unemployment figures to be 23, 25%, whatever the number is, 40%.
Whatever it is,
I'll tell you what the issue
matter.
is.
It's too big.
I'll tell you what the big issue is. The big issue is that if you say 25%, you say in 25% of 50 million people, you have over 13 million people who don't have jobs in this country.
Yeah.
And out of those 13 million people, you find there's 3 to 5 people who rely on the 13 million.
The knock-on effect is huge.
We have a crisis, and I think that's what we need to focus our minds on.
I can't wait to see what you do in that particular space.
For me, the key thing to do, firstly, is to address the liquidity issues, make sure that...
Fix priority South African as a business.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's my key focus.
How do we measure your success in 6 months' time when you come back in here to answer the question?
Well, I'll need to, firstly, go on a massive membership recruitment and a retention strategy, because, the last thing you want is, before this guy came in, we had X number of members, and they've since departed. So it's to retain the members and to increase Proudly SA's members. Sponsorship. Proudly South Africa does not have any sponsorship. And so we have a number of programs that we cannot go live with because we don't have the sponsorship.
I see Proudly SA is on Twitter. It's tweeted the fact that you're here. Unfortunately, Proudly SA only has 222 followers. I would like to see, when you come in 6 months' time, that there are more Proudly SA followers than there are followers of Bruce Business. We'll know then that you're making an impact.
We will have partnerships. We'll create those partnerships, and I have no doubt in my mind that we will turn this ship around.
I wish you luck with it. I really do.
And I thank you. And I look forward to working with you.
I want to see you back here talking about Proudly South African,
I will
telling
come.
us and make us feel proudly South African about Proudly South African. Okay. Leslie Sedibe, thanks very much.